This is Chasing the Horizon, a podcast by, for, and about motorcyclists, brought to you by the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America and webBikeWorld. Welcome to episode 134. I'm your host, Wes Fleming, and our guest this time is Rod Holmes, co-founder of PASQ. Probably the biggest news to come out in the last couple of weeks is the Federal Trade Commission ordering Harley-Davidson to, quote, fix warranties by removing illegal terms and recognizing the right to repair, come clean with customers, and ensure that dealers compete fairly with independent third parties, end quote. At specific issue in this order is the FTC's assertion that Harley is, and I'm using their words here, restricting consumers' choices, costing consumers more money, undercutting independent dealers, and reducing resiliency. Let's unpack these things one at a time. Well, actually, we're going to combine the first two, restricting choices and costing more money. The FTC reiterated that a warranty exists to protect the consumer, not the manufacturer, and further stated Harley has improperly required their bikes to be serviced at a dealer using only Harley-approved parts. This will obviously cost more in the long run and the short term, as aftermarket parts of similar quality to OEM and independent services typically cost less than the OEM parts and dealer service. The FTC also stated Harley's actions violate prohibitions against undermining or undercutting independent shops by creating a biased market. And finally, the resiliency thing. The FTC says by requiring OEM parts and dealer servicing, Harley is preventing their riders from getting parts and service when they need it and where they need it, and are putting them at mercy of Harley's supply chain. Now, there don't appear to be any monetary penalties in action at this point, but that threat is there. The FTC has ordered Harley to stop telling consumers their warranties are voided by using aftermarket parts or independent repair shops. If Harley continues to violate this order, they could have to pony up nearly $50,000 per violation if the FTC ever takes them to federal court. Harley also has to add language to their warranties to inform consumers of their rights, and that language is specific. I quote again. Now, this is what the FTC wants Harley to add to their warranty. Taking your product to be serviced by a repair shop that is not affiliated with or an authorized dealer will not void this warranty. Also, using third-party parts will not void this warranty. And that's end quote. The FTC is also ordering Harley to inform customers with motorcycles under warranty of these changes and alert its dealer network to remove deceptive warranty information displayed in their shops, train their employees on the new policies, and then monitor their behavior. And finally, if you ask me, this is the big one, stop promoting branded parts and their own dealer network over aftermarket parts and independent shops. Now, what you might not know is the dozens of people who reached out to me with links and questions about this. And most of these came from the BMW world because in the last year, quite a hubbub has developed in the BMW motorcycle community over BMW Motorrad refusing to publish any new technical manuals for the current generations of motorcycles that owners could purchase and use to do their own maintenance work and repairs. One exchange I saw between a BMW owner and BMW's U.S. customer service department basically said, and I'm not quoting, this is just the best of my memory here, your BMW motorcycle is too sophisticated for you to work on, and we don't trust independent shops to do the job right. We want you to take your extremely technologically advanced motorcycle to an actual dealer for all service needs. And once again, that's not a quote. That's just me remembering the exchange. This thing between the FTC and Harley-Davidson is not the same as the thing between BMW Motorrad and its driveway service capable owners. or independent shops, but it's hard to relay those subtleties in a DM. Plus, a huge difference is BMW hasn't put into their warranty the same language Harley put into theirs. Now, this is a victory for you right to repair folks. Absolutely no doubt about that. But whether or not it goes on to be the industry shakeup some think it will be remains to be seen. You should never, ever underestimate the legal department of a global manufacturing conglomerate. Though Harley may not have quite the clout in the halls of government they once had, never forget that Harley's executives were once instrumental in getting the U.S. government to establish tariffs, raising the prices almost double of all imported motorcycles over 800 cc's. These tariffs stayed on the books for a decade or more before they were quietly allowed to expire. Now, if you dig back through the blog on Chasing the Horizon, on the website, you'll find some pieces that I wrote a few years ago that address Harley-Davidson's manufacturing and these tariffs. That website, of course, is chasingthehorizon.us, and I'll do my best to find those posts and link them in this episode's show notes page on the website.
Electricity, 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 electricity.
Despite offering the all-electric CE04 scooter and other small electric bikes, BMW Motorrad is apparently not working on any hybrid gas-electric bikes like many of the Japanese builders are, and will not do so. According to Alexander Vare, who is BMW's VP of Customer, Brand, and Sales, BMW considers hybrids an important step between all-gas and all-electric platforms, but it's not a step they're going to bother with when it comes to two wheels. Vare doesn't see any upside to an intermediate step, especially since on the car side, BMW isn't doing any more hybrids either. He did use the M word when he said BMW will, quote, keep pursuing both internal combustion engines and electric, and they both fit very well, not only to scooters, but to motorcycles, end quote. It's not the first time somebody from BMW has put the words electric and motorcycle together in the same sentence, but it might be the first time they've done so in such a forward-looking way. Now, I have to say I agree with the guy. Given BMW's stated goal of ending internal combustion production by 2030, they're smarter to focus on all-electric solutions rather than wasting time with a half-and-half step along the way. Consumers are already used to the idea of electric transportation, and while it's still a huge anomaly to see an electric motorcycle, there are more electric cars on the road every day, and that serves to normalize the concept in the minds of a lot of people. Thank you very much to webBikeWorld for funneling the news our way, and be sure to check out their website at webBikeWorld.com for the latest motorcycle news and in-depth product reviews. Joining me on this episode is Rod Holmes, one of the small team that runs a company called PASQ. That's PASQ. Rod, welcome to Chasing the Horizon.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. The first thing I got to ask you is, PASQ, is that an acronym, or how did you guys come up with that name? Because it doesn't. I know a lot about words, and it doesn't appear to be a word.
It's part of a word, and it is the state flower of South Dakota, which is one of my home states. I grew up in Montana and South Dakota, but it's spelled PASQUE. And we were looking for something that was short and trademarkable, and we were able to make a slight spelling change and get something that was easily trademarkable.
Yeah, the trademarkable thing is the key there, because that's how you protect. That's the beginning of protecting your intellectual property is a trademark on your company name.
Yep, exactly. So we did it badly the first time around, and we named ourselves something, and the trademark attorney kind of just laughed and said, "Yeah, no." I won't even take your money to check this out because I know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's one of the reasons that we pay lawyers is because they know stuff. So, I can't really fault him on that. Before we get too deep into what PASQ is coming out with very soon and that I have seen twice now, I want to get a little bit of your background and tell me about your introduction into the world of motorcycling and how, because that's going to let us segue to why you guys are building what you're building. So tell me a little bit about your motorcycle story.
Well, my motorcycle story is actually rather short. I haven't been involved in motorcycles all that long. So out of college many years ago, my wife and I went to work for a bicycle company called Cannondale.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. We were right there at the beginning of Cannondale, and we worked there for about 4 years, and then we left and we bicycled around the world in 1989 and 1990, and we ended up living in Tokyo. We ran out of money in Thailand and heard we could make all kinds of money, and we ended up living in Tokyo for 10 years. And we've been bicyclists most of our lives and bicycle travelers. But congenital knee issues have kind of come to the fore. And we always thought we would retire to our bicycles and just slowly traveling around the world again. But that's not going to happen. And so I kind of started exploring motorcycles. My wife was very opposed, and she finally said, "You can go ahead and do this, and you can try to convince me." So
challenge accepted.
Exactly. So I got I went and did the courses and got my license. And through my research, I knew I wanted a large adventure touring bike because I knew my wife, who bicycled around the world, but she would never be on a motorcycle by herself. I knew she'd be a pillion. So I wanted a large adventure bike. I did a lot of looking around, and I found a really great deal on a Yamaha Super Tenere, a used one. And I did everything on the cheap in order because if it didn't work, I didn't want to drop a whole lot of money.
That makes sense. Yeah, I understand that.
Yep. So I got this Yamaha Super Tenere, and I spent 1 year trying to get good enough on it that when I put my wife on the back, she would not freak out and we would be okay. So I spent a year, doing a lot of riding and doing a couple trips, camping trips and stuff on it. And after the following summer, I kind of warmed up and did some more riding by myself, and then finally said, okay, it's time. And she got on the back, and, we did it. I got inexpensive gear, but I got everything. She had, we had helmets with comms, and she had jackets and boots and everything so that, she felt as comfortable as could be. Put her on the back, and we went like about 5 miles. We live in Chicago, and so we were going up the lake, the road next to Lake Michigan, and kind of weaving through these beautiful neighborhoods, trying to get out of the city. And through the comm, I hear, "This is really great." And she said, "I'm actually more comfortable on the back of your bike than I am in a car."
Nice.
Because I can see everything. Yeah, so that is kind of the beginning. And then, so we have just been planning on retiring to a motorcycle now. But we're not small people. And when I started looking at, okay, camping gear, stuff to be on the road indefinitely, how are we going to do this with one bike? And I started looking at trailers. And that's how we can go into that. That's how PASQ was born.
Yeah. So what PASQ is now working on, and you guys are getting closer. Last year, so I met you at last year's MOA rally in Montana,
Right?
And I saw you again at this year's MOA rally, which reminded me that I had intended to have you on the show before this year's rally.
Yeah.
So that's where we were able to reconnect again.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about the trailer that you guys came up with, because when I say, single wheel adventure trailer, it doesn't really impart the kind of the coolness of the device. It's one of those things that you kind of have to see to understand, but I'm sure you can describe it, because I'm sure you have to describe it all the time.
I do. Yeah. So, well, you've got the basics right. It is a single wheel trailer designed to be pulled behind mid-sized and large ADV bikes.
Okay.
It is, it's not designed to go behind cruisers or enduro bikes. Right now, this model, 100% ADV. It's the things that we were looking for was it had to be able to go at highway speeds. It had to be able to handle just everything that ADV bikes do. It has to be highway speeds. It has to be able to do, dirt roads, fire logging roads, basically BDRs, except for the crazy stuff on BDRs,
right.
Of course. And so that led to a couple of decisions. One of the first things, I was trying to figure out how to carry stuff on a long trip for my wife and I. And so I decided it has to connect to the bike's rear axle. It has to take all the load off the bike suspension. And so our system is two arms come off of our trailer and grab onto spools that we place on either side of the rear wheel on the axle.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, so that particular application sounds very BMW specific, because the BMW bikes have a hole in the final drive.
This is something that most people don't realize is only Moto Guzzi's don't have a hollow rear axle in the ADV market.
Oh, okay.
That every bike from, the T7s now to my Yamaha Super Tenere, Africa Twins, and of course the BMWs, but even the BMW 800s have a hollow rear axle.
Okay.
And it's done for strength and lightweight.
Right.
To reduce the weight.
Yeah, because obviously, since I've seen you at the MOA rally, you came with an R1200 or an R1250, I forget which, to show that, and it's got a hole through the final drive.
It's got a huge hole, and that was a huge issue.
So
we knew. Go ahead. Sorry.
So to make it work with different bikes, the trailer will be the same, but the actual mount that you use for the axle will be bike specific.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So for the GS, we had to do a large bit of engineering, and that has resulted in one and perhaps two patents on how we connect to the GS rear axle was a feat of engineering, and it's super cool, and we tested a lot, and it's something we're very, very proud of. Basically, we place bearings inside of the GS's hole, and they are kind of, using an indelicate word, they're wedged in there, but it's far more sophisticated than that. Then we have
we call that a press fit.
Yeah, there we go. And then so our bearings rotate with the wheel, but the shaft that we have going through there Does not.
Okay.
And then we grab onto that shaft. Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's not actually, it doesn't put any stress on the inside of that hole because the bearings are what's doing the work.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
With a regular bike that has a regular swing arm and a hollow axle,
Yep.
you've just got a mount that goes through the middle of the axle.
Right. And we have to make basically end caps that fit over the axle nuts of every particular bike. And that's really easily done. And then we run if you're familiar with bicycles, it's almost like a quick release on a bicycle that goes through the rear axle and cinches everything up. And then we can grab onto that. We call it an axle adapter.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so now that we've got the mount figured out, tell me a little bit about the trailer itself, because it kind of looks like a motorcycle. To tell you the truth, it looks like a motorcycle with no seat and no engine, and no second wheel.
Yeah. We kind of looked at it and said, let's make it look like a GS. I mean, and it's intended to be like a roof rack for your motorcycle. It has internal storage, one basically large internal pannier, about 46 liters.
Okay.
That's lockable, and it's got USB charging port inside of it. So we do have internal storage, but the bulk of the reason for this trailer is so that you can connect the equipment you already have. So you can take your pannier off your bike and you can attach it to the side of our trailer. You can use, hard panniers. You can use soft. You can use dry bags if you want. You can attach coolers to the side. You can attach, roto packs to the side. So it ends up being, again, like a roof rack for your motorcycle, so that our whole goal is to get the weight off the bike and onto the trailer so that you just have more options. The one that I use all the time is, when on my bicycle camping, everything is pared down. I've got the lightest everything because I don't want to lug all that stuff up the hill. Well, now with this trailer, instead of taking a less than desirable little aluminum pot, I can bring my nice cast iron skillet with me because I've just got a little more room. I'm not saying, bring the kitchen sink. I'm saying you can bring better and more comfortable stuff with you.
Right.
And you can bring a cooler so that, everything is, you have more options. You can stay, on the BDR longer. You can camp for, out and away further and for a longer time.
Does the trailer itself have a weight limit to it that you guys recommend or that you've kind of engineered into it?
We're looking at probably saying 100 pounds or less.
Okay.
And that's going to include, panniers. So if you've got, something like, Jesse, aluminum panniers that are substantial, that's going to be part of that 100 pounds.
Okay.
Versus if you got like a giant loop bags or something like that don't weigh nearly as much, you
that's
have more options.
Certainly, incentivizes people to use soft as opposed to hard saddlebags or side cases, which makes sense, in that kind of environment. I think no matter what you use, hard or soft, there are advantages and disadvantages, and there are people who will swear that one is the way to go and the other will kill you. And other people will say, no, that's wrong. This one is the way to go, and the other way will kill you, leave you stranded, et cetera, et cetera. So let me.
What I like doing with the trailer is actually no panniers. We have shelving units that allow you to put like coolers and stuff on it. But I like using. I've got 2 dry bags that I put on the side, and then a small dry bag that I put on the top of the trailer. And that's tons of room.
Yeah.
Tons of room.
Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about a bunch of mounting hardware and rack systems and all that adds weight.
Yep. Exactly.
So here's the question that I think begs to be asked, because I don't know about you, but I have met a lot of motorcycle riders and a lot of people that travel, and they always wish they had more space. So how realistic do you think it is for the typical rider to take the saddlebags off the bike and put them on the trailer and not just add saddlebags to the trailer?
Yeah. I can tell you, I'm leaving a top case on my bike. I do leave a top case on my bike. Because my wife uses it as a backrest, and two, it's just good space, but we leave, not a lot of heavy stuff in there.
Okay.
But I know there's going to be people that are going to have a top case and, two panniers on the back of their bike, and then, load up the trailer as well. And for some applications like group tour leaders, maybe that makes sense for them.
Sure.
That they're just on their bike by themselves, being the sag wagon or doing whatever their role is in a tour. And, that can work for them. There's just so many options, there's so many options, but that was not my intention. My intention is not to double your carrying capacity.
Or let's see. It looks like the trailer is long enough that you could actually put 2 saddlebags front to back on each side. So that would be tripling your carrying capacity.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you're going to see somebody doing that within the first 12 sales.
I can't control what people do with it.
That's true. You can only recommend and build in a margin, and then it's up to people to read the owner's manual. Cough.
Exactly. Well, there's probably going to be about 5 layers of stickers on this when you get it, and you're going to have to peel off stickers that say, all the warnings and all the recommendations.
Gotcha. Kind of. Yeah, there's that's why we have lawyers, Rod. You're welcome to abuse something once you've bought it, but that doesn't mean that you escape liability for your actions.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about the construction. What materials are you using? Because I know the wheel itself is I'm not even going to say basically a motorcycle wheel. It is a motorcycle wheel, just not one that you could mount on a motorcycle.
Right. So we'll start with the wheel. It's pretty simple. It's a 17-inch spoked wheel. On the prototypes, and what we have right now is it's tubed. I've gotten a lot of negative feedback about that, and then when I mention the cost of a non-tubed wheel, people kind of cough and go, "Oh, okay." But it's 17 inches. It uses the current iteration. We're working on sourcing this, but we've got a front hub. The one that we've got right now is basically a very nice copy of a KTM front hub, and then the rim is a rear rim. And we did that so that we give our customers, the users, the largest range of tires available.
Yeah.
So you can go quite small, like a 90-90. It's a 2.5-inch rim. So you can go, as low as like a 90-90. And you can go up to, a 130-80, 130-90 as well. And the reason for that is just to give you more options. You can go, small and fast, or you can go chunky. But it's also an emergency tire.
Right.
That if you are in the back, most ADV bikes have a 17-inch wheel and on the back. And so if you do something to your rear tire and just slash the sidewall, you can, pull the trailer into the woods, yank the tire off and put it on your bike and get out.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons we went with a 17-inch wheel.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's smart.
We also just didn't want, we didn't want to put a wheel on this where, if you're in Kenya, you can't find, there's no chance of finding a tire that will work
right
for it. So yeah, we wanted something that was just standard. It wasn't a specialty little scooter wheel or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think for especially for road travel at highway speeds, anything smaller than 15 is just going to be working too hard.
Right.
So,
well, and the other thing, the bigger it is, the more gyroscopic forces you're generating as well, and
that helps with stability
to our advantage. Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of the wheel. The wheel's connected to suspension. That we have 7 inches of suspension. It's very, very well designed in that we use a air shock. It's by Fox, a Fox air shock that we mount horizontally and use linkages to transfer all the motion. And the shock, we were going with an air shock because it's very easy to adjust preload. So as you add weight to the trailer, you're able to easily add air to the shock to adjust your preload so that you're not zeroing out your suspension.
Gotcha.
And then it also has adjustable rebound as well. So it's a very sophisticated suspension system. We've been, interestingly, off-road, it's just been rock solid. On washboards, it's just I'm bragging, but it's just absolutely amazing. It's almost like you could put a glass of water on the trailer as you're going down washboards. It's much more brutal to be on the bike than on the trailer, actually.
Gotcha. Well, that's I think that's important for safety, because if it drags or pulls on the bike, then it's a hazard.
Exactly. And what we found on interstates, I mean, we've all, in highways, is frost heaves and just, you hit a 2-inch difference between, concrete plates on an interstate or whatever. And it just takes the hit. And we've got video of us going down the road and hitting these things at 80 miles an hour. And the trailer's just rock solid. Nice.
Yeah. So what's the rest of it made out of? I'm gonna guess aluminum.
Yes. Yeah. It's all aluminum. The prototype that you've seen and that we brought to the MOA rally, and we've been to Overland Expo and a few other places. Those are welded aluminum tubing.
Okay.
For the geeks out there, it's a 6061 T6 aluminum. But we're going to be changing. If you know anything about welding aluminum, it's very difficult and it's very, very costly. And we can't go into production with a welded aluminum frame. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to use aluminum plate, and we're going to cut out the sides of the trailer, the part that kind of looks like a GS frame.
Right.
We're going to cut it out using a industrial CNC router, and then we'll also lay the router over and chamfer everything at 45 degrees. Then we'll flip it over and we'll cut channels on the backside for increased stiffness and reduced weight.
Okay.
So that will allow us to produce the trailer at a much more reasonable price and just be able to do it rather quickly. And it's going to allow us to make changes quite easily.
Yeah. Because certainly once you start getting them into the hands, figuratively speaking, of riders, you're going to start getting feedback, and I don't know about you, but most of the adventure riders I have met are not really shy about telling you what's good or bad about your product. You know, they'll be quite effusive about the good things, and they will never ever let you forget the tiniest little mistake or flaw.
That's what's absolutely wonderful and a little unnerving about going to the BMW MLA rally. Is it seems like 3/4 of the people there are engineers.
Yeah.
and or want to be engineers. And boy, they have opinions. And so it's really interesting.
No, not BMW riders.
That's been my experience. I might be wrong, but
oh man, Rod, you are not even close to wrong. Wrong is in the next zip code when you say stuff like that. And that's my gang. I can bust my own gang. So
exactly.
So let me ask you two kind of business questions.
Sure.
What's your timeline to production, to like retail units being available, and what kind of price point are we going to be looking at?
Yep. So right now we're pushing hard to start production in the fourth quarter. So probably end of November, beginning of December, and with hopes of delivery in early 2023.
All right. Cool.
We've got a lot of work to do. We're in the middle of doing our final prototype with using the CNC router frame. We've got a lot of work to do. But we've learned so much, and we're very confident that this will be our final prototype, and we'll be able to go to production with it.
Gotcha.
As far as pricing goes, we are, depending on what happens with aluminum and stainless steel, because we got a lot of stainless steel bolts.
Hold on, let me get my Oracle orb over here.
Yeah, exactly. But right now, with the costs that we're seeing, we're probably going to be at the $7,000 to $7,500 range.
Okay.
For this first model.
And are you guys going to sell direct? Are you going to have
That's
dealers?
A very interesting question, because in the last 2 weeks, we have been approached by two of the large moto distributors. And I've placed a call to the third, and trying to arrange to talk to them.
Gotcha. So without asking you to divulge, that's are you talking a company more like Tucker Rocky or more like Touratech in size?
Well, Tucker was the first one to reach out to us.
I'm not surprised. I mean, there's only a few of them. But yeah, so you're talking about like a major company with wholesale and retail operations all over the country.
Yeah. And then their main competitors I'm also talking to. So that changes a lot of our calculations. We were going to only go direct to consumer through our website. That has been our business plan since day one. But we now are looking at, if we can make 500 of these instead of 50, we can have a lot more purchasing power, and we can bring the cost of goods much lower. So, and, there's a lot of advantages of working with, with these distributors. So we're exploring that very, very heavily right now. So you may be able to see these in shops in your hometown, which would be great, because then you can maybe take it for a test ride and see how, you don't feel it back there. And it's absolutely amazing. That's becoming a distinct possibility, as opposed to just watching a couple videos on YouTube and taking a leap of faith that's for you.
Which, no matter what you do, some people are comfortable with that kind of purchasing, and other people got to see it in person.
Right.
There's not a lot of, there aren't a lot of algorithms out there that can predict that split. So, I think either way you go with it, you're going to find your market, because, you've got a unique ADV oriented product, and those riders they'll find you. They'll find it no matter how you're actually selling it.
Right.
So one more question about that kind of aspect of it. It sounds to me like you guys are going to be manufacturing here in the U.S. Am I correct?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everything. So we're based in the ADV capital of the United States, Chicago. Why are you laughing?
Last year when I rode to the rally in Montana, my buddy and I, so I have a friend. So this is just for you. Everybody else can listen. This is usually where I make a joke about cutting this out later and then forgetting to do it, but I'm not even going to make the joke. My buddy lives in Pennsylvania. His father lives in Wisconsin. We met up in Ohio, rode to his father's place, chilled for a couple days, and then he went home and I went on to Minneapolis and then the rally. So the one thing, the burning desire that we had in getting from Ohio to Wisconsin was not going through Chicago. So we swung south and west before turning north to go to Wisconsin, and kind of made a, like a bubble around Chicago. Because we just absolutely did not want to go anywhere near the highways that go in, around, or near Chicago.
No, and it's doubly bad now because there's so much. They got half of the roads in and out of Chicago dug up.
Oh, of course.
So we've got a lot of resources in the Chicagoland area, and we've met some amazing people and craftsmen through this process. So we're going to be sourcing everything from basically the Chicagoland area. Our CNC shop is nearby, and it's going to be largely from parts made in and around Chicago and then assembled in Chicago.
Gotcha.
The one thing that may be foreign is the wheel, because I have not. If anybody has a great suggestion on how to get a really good wheel made at a pretty good price in the States, I'd love to hear it. But I've got amazing quality, but the pricing
that comes at a price.
Just, exactly.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of is to call the folks at Woody's Wheelworks in Colorado.
That was the first thing I did. Was I called them and they said, we're not your guy, and they sent us to Warp 9. And so all the wheels that we've got on our prototypes at this point are Warp 9, and they're
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
The Warp 9 people have been amazing to work with. But they're still, they're not making millions of wheels. And so, we've got that's one thing to figure out. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting conundrum. And, I don't know enough about motorcycle wheels or business to even come up with a suggestion once you've used my top choice. And I only know Woody's because they made a set of wheels for me for a KTM that I had, and they were amazing wheels. Yeah. So I know they do great work.
They are the pinnacle for sure. I mean, when I started talking to people, they're all like, call Woody's. And I actually talked to Woody, and he's like, I would love to do this, but I'm not your guy. You're looking for somebody who can make you more than what I can make. So he was very, very generous and just said, hang up and call Warp 9. And the people at Warp 9 were amazing. Just wonderful people.
Yeah, that's another thing about the motorcycle industry is we all kind of know, all the manufacturers know who their rivals are, and they know who's doing good work. And most of us are pretty cool in that, we'll send you to somebody, even if it's a rival, if we can't do what you need done, and they can.
Right. Well, there's another company that I'd like to give a shout out to, because when we went to Great Falls last year, the trailer had come out of the powder coaters like the day before, and we assembled it and threw it in the car and headed to Great Falls. It did not have 1 mile on it when we showed up in Great Falls.
Wow.
And the guys from Denali Denali Electronics, came by our booth, freaked out, and came back and basically said, "We are your wiring harness and lighting partners." And we said, "Okay." And I didn't even know what I was saying okay to. But they have proven to be an amazing, amazing partner. They have worked with us in developing our lighting systems and our wiring harnesses. And the beautiful thing about working with them is they have already ready to order connections for your bike. So whatever bike you have, I mean, certainly GS's, but any bike, they have the adapter. So you just call them, order, it can be a CAN system, or they have, really easy to install harnesses that, even I can do. And then that plugs right into our trailer.
Cool.
So, yeah, very, very great company to work with. And we're very lucky that they chose us.
So do the trailers have tail lights and turn signals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are using pods from Denali on our prototypes, and it looks like that's what we're going to spec for production as well.
Cool.
They are running lights, and then they are both turn signal and brake lights as well. And we'll probably add a third brake light as well. And then we have side mounted yellow or amber LEDs for more visibility from the side as well.
Yeah, because certainly if somebody is sitting on a cross street waiting for the motorcycle to come by, they're expecting it to be, say, for example, 6 feet long, not 10 feet long.
Yep, exactly. And that's why we absolutely had to have side lights so that doesn't happen. Gotcha.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned Jesse and Giant Loop. Do you have formal partnerships with them as well?
They're not formal as in we have contracts or anything, but they have been supporting us greatly, both of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
The folks at Giant Loop have sent us round the world panniers and
fantastic
a lot
bags.
of other stuff. Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Coming from the bicycle world, I'm a little more inclined towards soft panniers, but then the people at Jesse are also absolutely amazing, and they have sent us a variety of their panniers with not asking anything from us. And so I've been bringing them to trade shows, and they're in our photos and our videos, and we're very proud that they have chosen to work with us, and the same with the Giant Loop folks.
Yeah, I had to before our phone call today. I live in Virginia, and all of our vehicles have to have an annual safety inspection. So it was time for both of my bikes expire this month, and one I got done and one I won't, but that's okay. But I took one of them to go get inspected today. It happened to be my Indian. I have an FTR 1200S that I put a rack on, and I was talking to Harold from Giant Loop, and he was like, "Dude, do you know if the Round the World will fit on that?" And I was like, "I have no idea." And we were at a rally. He was like, "Take this one home. I got an extra one. Somebody had like crashed and destroyed theirs, and so they bought one." So
right. Okay.
He sent it home from me and says, "Go take this home and see if it works." And every time I go anywhere, people see that Round the World bag and start asking me questions about it. They don't want to talk about the cool bike. I might get one question about, "Oh, I've never seen one of those." But then I get 17 questions about the side case, the soft case. Yeah. So that's just really fantastic stuff.
Well, if it's connected to a trailer, the trailer tends to get a little attention.
Yeah.
From my experience.
There you go. Well, listen, Rod, man, I really appreciate hearing about PASQ and the trailer. Does the trailer itself has an official name that is escaping me right now?
It's called the ADV1 because our goal is to have more than just adventure touring trailers. And so this is our first one, and it's our adventure number one.
Gotcha. So. And you're looking for a late 2022 production run-up with delivery starting in 2023. So how can people get, is there a mailing list? Is there a waiting list?
Yep. So there's both. And you can access both of them at our website, which is PASQadventure.com. And again, PASQ is PASQ adventure.com. And then also we've got like 6 or 7 videos up on YouTube. So on YouTube, you can just do a search for PASQ Adventure, and you'll see a couple of our kind of summary videos and one of our assembly of our first prototype that's got like, I think 13,000 views now or something.
Yeah. Cause it's cool. I watched it twice. I watched it once last year and once this year.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was an exciting day. We spent 4 hours assembling it and then took it out and beat it up and then washed it off and took it to a powder coater and drove to Great Falls.
Nice. Well, Rod, thanks very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And
Thank
good
you
luck.
Very much.
Keep me posted as to your progress. And in the future, send me a press release or something, and I'll mention it on a show when it's available and folks can go look at them. And
Wonderful.
Good luck with it, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Visit our website at chasingthehorizon.us to listen to every episode of the podcast and read up on various motorcycle-related topics. The best way you can support Chasing the Horizon is by joining the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America. Yes, it says BMW right in the name, but we absolutely do not care what bike you ride. We know what's most important. The MOA is all about the community of riders, not a single brand. You can join as a digital member for $39 a year or as a traditional member for $49 a year. The biggest difference there is digital members don't get a hard copy of our monthly magazine in their mailbox. They access the BMW Owners News online. Each membership supports digital offerings like Chasing the Horizon, The Ride Inside with Mark Barnes, and everything else the MOA does. Find out more at bmwmoa.org. And ride along with us on the internet. Chasing the Horizon is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There's a mailing list with exclusive content and giveaways that are only open to subscribers. You can sign up for that at tinyletter.com/chasingthehorizon. We'll see you out there somewhere on the road or off it. Ride safe.